The ending of Young Sherlock Season 1 leaves viewers with one of the most intriguing twists the series has introduced so far. After spending an entire season watching a younger version of Sherlock Holmes sharpen his deductive skills and slowly step into the world of complex investigations, the final episode reveals that the mystery driving the season was far deeper than anyone initially suspected. What first appeared to be a series of unrelated events ultimately comes together in a reveal that changes how we see nearly every clue that came before it. Throughout the season, young Sherlock carefully plants small details that seem insignificant at first. These clues often appear during quiet conversations, background moments, or minor discoveries that Sherlock notes but doesn't immediately act upon. The brilliance of the finale is how it ties those scattered hints into a single narrative thread. By the time the final reveal happens, it becomes clear that Sherlock wasn't just solving isolated puzzles. He was unknowingly being pulled into a much larger scheme. One of the key aspects of the ending is how it showcases Sherlock's developing mind. Unlike the fully confident detective audiences know from classic stories, this younger version of Sherlock is still learning how to interpret evidence and trust his instincts. In several earlier episodes, he notices patterns that others overlook but struggles to fully understand their significance. Those observations become crucial in the finale when the truth finally emerges. A major clue appears in the repeated references to hidden connections between seemingly unrelated suspects. Sherlock repeatedly questions why certain individuals appear around multiple incidents without directly participating in the crimes themselves. At first, the pattern seems coincidental, but the finale reveals that these characters were pieces of a carefully constructed network. The mastermind behind the events had been operating in the background all along. This revelation strongly echoes the type of intellectual rivalry that defines Sherlock's future encounters with Professor Moriarty. While the series doesn't necessarily confirm Moriarty's direct involvement, the structure of the mystery clearly mirrors the type of elaborate planning associated with Sherlock's most famous adversary. The idea that someone could manipulate events while remaining invisible is exactly the kind of challenge that will eventually shape Sherlock into the legendary detective he becomes. Another crucial element of the finale is the emotional impact it has on Sherlock's personal life. Over the course of the season, he forms relationships with several characters who influence his growth. Some mentor him, others challenge him, and a few provide the emotional grounding he rarely allows himself to acknowledge. When the final reveal exposes the truth behind certain alliances, Sherlock is forced to confront the possibility that he may have misjudged people he trusted. That realization is an important step in his development. Classic portrayals of Sherlock often show him as someone who values logic above all else, but young Sherlock illustrates the painful learning process behind that mindset. The finale suggests that Sherlock's future emotional distance may be partly rooted in experiences like this, moments where trust becomes a liability rather than a strength. One of the most fascinating clues leading up to the reveal involves subtle inconsistencies in testimonies and timelines. Early in the season, Sherlock notices that certain statements from witnesses don't quite align with the evidence. Instead of dismissing these discrepancies as simple mistakes, he quietly keeps track of them. By the time the finale arrives, those inconsistencies form a map that leads directly to the hidden truth. This slow accumulation of details reflects the investigative style that Sherlock will later perfect. Rather than relying on sudden inspiration, he builds his conclusions through observation and patience. The season finale shows the moment when those skills finally come together in a decisive way. The ending also hints at larger mysteries that could define the future of the series. While the main revelation answers many questions, it also introduces new ones. Who else might be involved in the network that orchestrated the season's events? How long has this manipulation been taking place? And most importantly, how will Sherlock respond now that he understands the scale of the deception he's facing? These questions position the series for a much bigger narrative going forward. Young Sherlock isn't just telling standalone mysteries, it's building a long-term story about the evolution of one of fiction's greatest detectives. Another subtle detail in the finale involves Sherlock's relationship with his family, particularly his brother Mycroft Holmes. While Mycroft has often been portrayed as an intellectual equal to Sherlock, the series suggests that he may also understand far more about the larger situation than he initially reveals. His cryptic comments in the final episode imply that he may have been aware of certain dangers long before Sherlock uncovered them himself. If that interpretation is correct, it adds an interesting layer to the Holmes family dynamic. Sherlock may believe he is uncovering the truth independently, but Mycroft's presence suggests that someone has been quietly observing and guiding events behind the scenes. In the end, the Young Sherlock Season 1 finale works because it rewards attentive viewers. Nearly every major twist is supported by clues that were visible all along. The reveal doesn't come out of nowhere. It emerges naturally from the evidence Sherlock has been gathering throughout the season. More importantly, the ending feels like the true beginning of Sherlock's journey rather than the conclusion of a single mystery. By exposing him to a level of deception far greater than anything he has encountered before, the finale pushes him closer to becoming the brilliant but guarded detective the world knows. If the series continues to build on these foundations, Young Sherlock could evolve into one of the most compelling explorations of the Holmes mythology ever put on screen. The final twist doesn't just solve a mystery, it sets the stage for the challenges that will ultimately define Sherlock Holmes himself.